Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the Hilo Stitch podcast. I am your host Kristen of Maybe You Better Wanna Designs, and I'm here to talk to you about knitting. What else? I will also be talking about pattern design, upcoming events in the fiber arts community, and there is always a good chance that at some point I'm going to mention Diego Luna, just so you're aware. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I want to give a shout out to my Patreon patrons who support Maybe You Better Wanna Designs and this podcast. Thank you guys so much. And I also want to offer a special welcome to any new viewers who maybe are checking out the podcast for the first time. So if you don't know me already, my name is Kristen Janik. I am a knitting pattern designer and instructor. I am also the mom of 2 little boys and the wife of a very tall man from Peru. We all live in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C., and I love baseball, wine, yoga, and of course knitting. So let's start chatting about it. All right, so how are you guys doing today in your world? It is Monday, assuming you're watching this immediately. In my world, it is Sunday. I'm hungry today. We got to have a night out last night, which obviously doesn't happen very often. We bought tickets to see Adam Conover's Mind Parasites. Adam Conover has a TV show on True TV. You can also find it on Netflix called Adam Ruins Everything. Where he sort of dispels common myths and beliefs about a whole variety of things. But it's a comedy. So the show last night was called Mind Parasites, all about the ways that the world around us hacks our brains. So it was funny, a little upsetting, but funny. And we almost missed it because my sister was supposed to babysit, and she texted me about an hour and a half before she was supposed to be here to tell me she was sick. Fortunately, my dad was able to fill in. This is his first time babysitting on his own, and he did a wonderful job. So not only did we get to go to the show, we also got to have dinner afterward at Pisco y Nazca Ceviche Gastro Bar. So this is a Peruvian inspired restaurant down in DC. So of course I ate way too much food. And today I'm trying to eat a bit lighter. So for lunch I tried to have soup, and it was disgusting. I don't know why I keep buying canned soup, or not even canned. This was Campbell's kettle something or other that comes in a plastic container that you can heat up in the microwave, so it's supposed to be sort of a step above the canned soup. But I am a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat, obviously, and I can't eat soups that have a chicken broth base, which sort of cuts down on a lot of my soup options. But this one was a vegetarian black bean soup. I thought I would give it a try. But vegetarian soups, companies seem to think that they can't seem to figure out how to add flavor to them, so they just load them with salt. So it was just like a bowl of salty water with some beans in it. It was really disgusting. So I ate maybe half of it. I added some salsa to try to improve the flavor, but it didn't work. So I ate maybe half of it and I gave up. So now I'm hungry again. But lunch was only like an hour ago, so I can't, it's not time to eat again yet. So that was disappointing, and I'm feeling hungry today. I hope you are not. Easter is coming up. I should be doing some things for that. I need to go to Target and get all of the Easter candy and such. But I've been so busy just working this weekend, and I wanted to have time to record the podcast, so I'm just going to have to go tomorrow. While the kids are at school, I suppose. Usually I work in the morning while both of my kids are at school. I get about an hour and 40 minutes where both kids are in school, and so usually I work, but I'm going to have to give up my work time tomorrow to go to Target, do the Target run, and get all of the Easter stuff. I cannot believe that it is almost Easter already. I feel like we just had Christmas, which is weird because I really felt like January and February just dragged on and on and on. They were just so long. But March and now April have been flying by. So here we are already, almost Easter, which means Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming up just a couple weeks after that. So all kinds of good stuff to look forward to. I have also been very busy trying to organize summer camp for my kids. Both of my kids have special needs. JJ is my older son. He has not been formally diagnosed yet, but we are expecting him to be formally diagnosed this year with autism spectrum disorder. He's very high functioning, he's very smart, but he is socially awkward. He is barely interested in playing with other children. He's often sort of, off in his own world. Hard to get him to sort of pay attention. Like if you have a question for him, you usually have to ask him for a couple of times because he's just not going to notice that you've asked him a question. And Ollie, who is 4.5, has 22q deletion syndrome, which is sometimes called DeGeorge syndrome, which is a genetic disorder where he is missing part of a chromosome. It has a lot of different possible symptoms, and we are very fortunate that he does not have any of the most common and most severe symptoms. He does not have heart defects or immune system defects, but he does have a severe speech delay. He is still not talking. He also has some less severe delays in fine and gross motor skills. So I have been looking for summer camps for both of them that fit in all of our schedules. I don't want to send them to camp all summer, but I don't want them to sit at home all summer either. We found a camp for him that is specifically for kids with developmental delays, ADHD, and on the autism spectrum. It's going to be in mid-July, and it's going to be 2 weeks, 9 to 3 or 9 to 3:30. That is pretty reasonably priced, but then I had to find one for Ollie, and that's a little harder to come by, a summer camp that can accommodate a child who doesn't talk. So the place where he goes to speech therapy has summer camps. They're very expensive. So we could maybe afford to send him for 2 weeks, but it is at the exact same times, 9 to 3:30 as JJ's camp. So I can't send them both to camp at the same time because I have no way to get them both to camp and get them both home at the same time. I can only be at one place at a time, oddly enough. So that means Mommy also does not get a break during the summer because I'm going to have to send Ollie to camp for 2 weeks at the end of June, beginning of July, and then JJ to camp the 2 weeks after that, which is kind of a bummer. I'm already sort of thinking about how I'm going to continue to run my business while the kids are home for summer break, and I was really hoping that I could get them in camp at the same time, so that would give me at least a couple of weeks, but no. So that has been the challenge for me over the last couple of weeks to get all that sorted out. But it looks like I finally got it. Now all we're going to do is just win the lottery so we can afford it. But I'm really just amazed that I'm already like doing summer camp stuff. I really do think it was just Christmas. All right, that's enough random chatter. Let's get into some knitting talk. So today I'm really excited to tell you about an upcoming event organized by me. As you may know, Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming up in just about 3 weeks. As you may have caught at the beginning of the podcast, I live in Maryland. So I wanted to put together an event to give people coming for Maryland Sheep and Wool a break from shopping. Obviously that is, the major point of the event. There's also the pop-up shop at the Knot House up in Frederick, Maryland, which is always very popular and amazing. And definitely if you are coming to town for Maryland Sheep and Wool, you should check that out. I believe Damie at Magpie Fibers is also doing her open studio on the Saturday of the Maryland Sheep and Wool. So there's a lot going on, but it is all focused on buying yarn, which is great. But it's also, it kind of feels like all weekend you're just like hemorrhaging money. Because you've got all these events that are planned around shopping, and then you have to buy all your meals because you're away from home, and maybe you have to pay for a hotel room or your Airbnb. So it's just a lot of money. And the event itself, Maryland Sheep and Wool, tends to be very crowded. It is a little tricky to meet people, talk to people, especially if that's something you're not, really comfortable with. Like, I will see somebody I recognize, but there's no way I'm gonna just walk up to them and introduce myself. So I wanted to plan a little event that could be not focused on shopping, that could be a little quieter, and would give people hopefully a chance to sit and knit in peace, without feeling any pressure to buy things, and a better environment for chatting and meeting people. So I am hosting the Saturday night Sip and Knit. This is going to be at my home. And I know maybe it sounds weird, like I'm just like telling the internet to come to my house, but to be honest, I really don't have enough of a reach on social media that I feel like this is going to spiral out of control or anything. But it is going to be at my home, and this is a chance for people to sit and knit and share wine. If you are following me on Instagram, I'm a big fan of Wine Wednesdays. So this is going to be Wine Saturday. There will also be non-alcoholic beverages for those who maybe don't indulge. And I say wine, but I'm really thinking about maybe adding champagne as well, which I guess technically is a kind of wine. And I will have snacks and just space for people to hang out and sip their wine and knit their projects and chat. The baseball game will probably be on TV, which reminds me, if you are not interested in the Saturday night Sip and Knit, there is a baseball game Saturday night at Camden Yards up in Baltimore. I forget who is playing, but I do know that it is Star Wars night because it's May the 4th. But I'd much prefer that you come over here and sip wine and knit. I also wanted to make sure it's clear that this is an event for everybody. There have been a lot of discussions about inclusion, exclusion, representation in the knitting and the fiber arts community. Everyone will be welcome at this event. The only people who are not welcome at this event are I guess those people who have found those discussions offensive. They're important discussions to be having. If you find them offensive, frankly, you are part of the problem. I don't want this to be an environment where anybody feels uncomfortable because of the color of their skin, their religion, their sexuality, gender identity, whether or not they're documented, none of that. Everybody will be welcome. And in fact, if you speak Spanish, you are also welcome. I speak Spanish, my husband speaks Spanish, so don't feel like a lack of English speaking skill should prevent you from attending. Everybody is welcome. And the other people who are not welcome are Yankees fans. I'm kind of kidding about that part. But I hope everybody else will feel welcome to attend, and I hope we'll get a nice group of knitters. That's the other thing. It's called the Saturday Night Sip and Knit. You are also welcome if you crochet or spin, anything fiber arts related. So don't let the word knit make you feel like you can't participate. Definitely, you are also welcome. So that is that. I'm really excited about the Saturday Night Sip and Knit. If you are interested in attending, if you're going to be in town, you can send me an email, mediaperuana@gmail.com, and I will send you the address and any other details that I think you need to know. My home is located 20-25 minutes from the fairgrounds, and it's about 30 minutes from Frederick, where the Knot House is and where the Magpie Fiber Studio is. So I am pretty close to all of the big events for the weekend, and we will kick things off with our wine and knitting around 8 p.m. So if you are interested in attending, I hope you will. Definitely get in touch. Okay, how about a little on and off the needles? I don't have anything off the needles. I have been so busy with these 3 patterns that I am trying to get ready to be released right around Maryland Sheep and Wool. Again, I have overscheduled myself. I do this often. I cannot afford to pay sample knitters to knit large projects for me because I'm just not making enough money to do that. But I also constantly overestimate how quickly I can knit things. So I have been really super busy knitting on these three samples. But the weather is getting warmer, and so I dug out something that has been on the needles for too long. It's also in a Christmas bag because I'm really good at planning. This has been on the needles since last summer. Okay, and it kind of looks like a blob. Come on, blob. All right, there we go. This is a little tank top, and you can see it's got a cute detail at the bottom hem. That I've been working on since last summer, and now that the weather is getting warmer, I want to pull it back out and hopefully finish it for this summer. So the pattern does not have a real name, as I recall. This is a pattern by Veronica Job of Yoth Yarns. And so this is part of her, let's see, it's called the Number Collection. And so this is number 3. It doesn't have a name, that's it. All right, so this is probably the best photo. Obviously I printed this out in black and white. So this is what it looks like. So these cute strappy details. You can see the hem detail here. And here's a schematic on the back, so that gives you a good look at the the final shape. So it's this really cute little tank top with these braided straps, and I am knitting it in. The pattern calls for Yoth Yarn's Little Brother. I am using Yoth Yarns, but I'm not using Little Brother. I am using, I'm gonna say this is called Neighbors. This is a cotton wool blend. It is, I wanna say, a light fingering weight. Could just be regular fingering weight. What is going on here? You know, it's been sitting around all year, so who knows? That should be fun when I get started again. So this is a wool cotton blend, and you can see it's, I don't know if you can see, it's a little bit, see it here, a little bit slubby. And it is, I want to say 75% cotton, 25% wool. So I'm a little concerned that even with only 25% wool, it's going to be maybe a bit warm. We'll just have to see. It doesn't feel super warm, like just sitting on me, or you know, when I'm working with it. But I haven't worn it yet, so we will see. But I'd like to be able to be wearing this for the summer. And this color, it doesn't look great when I hold it up close. It gets a little washed out, but it is like a mint, like a pale mint green, slightly blue, but it's like a green gray. So now that warmer weather is coming, I'm going to put this back on the needles. It's still on the cord, but I did take the needles off to use for something else. Hopefully I wrote down what the needle size was, so that I can pick back up with that. So I have that on the needles. I have some other projects that I've showed you guys before. I've got a weekender on the needles that just needs sleeves. I started the sleeves. I used the wrong size needles. I had to rip them out. And now, of course, it's April, and it's just going to keep getting warmer, so I'm going to have like no motivation to finish that. But we'll see. Maybe when I'm done these 3 samples, I can get a little bit of a break to do some selfish knitting. But that is about all I have to show you at this point for on the needles, nothing off the needles. All right, let's talk about the things I'm designing. I've got a couple of them I may have mentioned, but I'm just going to show you 2 today. The first one is barely started. This is going to be a sort of follow-up to a pattern I released, I want to say in 2016, called Calentito, which are slipper socks. So they're sort of like ankle socks, designed to be worn a bit looser. They have been one of my most popular, if not my most popular pattern. And so now I'm going to be doing a little bit of a follow-up pattern. And I am planning to publish this June, maybe. I have a schedule. So I really don't need to be starting yet, but the other day I had a lousy day, and I was like, you know what, I just need to start something new. As you can see, I didn't really get very far, but just, I don't know. I love doing the Judy's Magic cast on, that one's called? Yes. So obviously these are going to be toe up, and I wound up the yarn. I was like, I just want to start something that is different, and it is currently no pressure because I don't have, I'm not trying to release them immediately. So the yarn is Woolberry Fiber Company. I might have the label around here somewhere. There's obviously a sock yarn. I want to say it's called Caramel Mocha, the colorway. So you can see browns, dark browns, light browns, a few blips of like few blips of like a red in there. So I'm really excited about this pattern. It's going to be a nice break from 2 sweaters and a big shawl. to work on something so much smaller. And the thing is, this is probably something I could afford to have a sample knitter knit, but I really just want to do it myself. Because not only, this was Calentito was a really popular pattern, but I love wearing my Calentito slipper socks, so I'm really looking forward to making a new pair. This pattern is going to be called Caluroso. So Calentito means warm, and Caluroso means hot. So you can look for this upcoming in the summer. And then one of the big things I'm working on that I specifically wanted to talk about is the sound side pullover. This is a project I've been really excited about ever since I got the yarns. This is knit in the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. I always want to put too many S's in there. The Farmer's Daughter's Fibers. No, the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. Foxy Lady, which is a single ply fingering weight, and Mighty Mo, which is a lace weight mohair. So they are held together throughout most of the sweater. They're not held together. You can see on the hem, so it gives just a little bit of contrast. You can see how nicely they are getting marled. I love that. So these colorways are called, looks a little better if I pull it back, you can see the color better. The fingering weight yarn is Werther's OG, and then the Mighty Mo is called Sunday Mimosas. So it's a sort of orangey caramel color like a Werther's candy. If you don't know what that is, I must be really old. And then the mohair, as you can see, this kind of pale yellow. They're absolutely beautiful together. It's like knitting a cloud. I'm going to hold it up so you can see all the fuzz. It just looks so soft. And this is going to be a boxy style pullover. I haven't made nearly as much progress as I should have. It is a high-low hem, so the front is going to ride a couple of inches higher than the back. And on the front is just going to be plain stockinette, and here on the back it is this mock rib. And this is a drop shoulder, so the mock rib is going to be all over the back, and then it's going to come up and wrap around the front a little bit. It has regular long sleeves, and then a bit of this mock rib is going to sort of wrap around this part of the sleeve. I just got the pattern to my testers this morning. My poor test knitters. I almost never have my stuff actually finished when I open tests. So they have to have faith based on sketches, schematics, and whatever progress I've made. They have to have faith that they're going to want to knit whatever it is. But the reason I wanted to talk about this one specifically is that I have been doing a little bit of an experiment with this design, in that I am trying to figure out exactly how long it takes me to go from concept to published pattern. So every time I'm working on this, I am timing myself. I think this will be eye-opening for me, and probably for other people as well, just to see how much time actually goes into making a pattern. A lot of times you will hear complaints about the cost of patterns, and I think it'll be interesting for people to actually know how much work is going into the patterns. Let's say, I don't know, 40 hours of work goes into making this pattern. I don't know, because I'm going to find out, but that's just a random number pulled out of thin air. And let's say I think I should be making 10 bucks an hour. So to create this pattern, I should make 400 bucks. How many copies of the pattern do I have to sell to make 400 bucks? A lot. 400 divided by, in my case, 7. So 50 some copies. That would be a lot for me. For some designers, that's hardly anything. But for me, that would be a lot. That would be a lot of patterns. So I just think it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to give me a better idea of how to budget my time, to determine when things are actually worth putting the time in, help me move forward with my business. And I think maybe it will be helpful for people who purchase patterns as well, just to have a better understanding of what it is what they're really paying for. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I had mentioned this on Instagram, and a couple of other designers had chimed in and been like, what an interesting idea, I'm going to do that too. So Andrea of Knit and Little suggested that we start using a hashtag. So the hashtag is Knit Design in Time. And if you would like to see my experiment and maybe some other designers who might be jumping in to try that experiment, you can check out that hashtag primarily on Instagram. And just, maybe it will be interesting for you to sort of follow along and see what our results are. I think we're going to be surprised with how much time. I think actually I won't be surprised by how long it takes to knit, but I think I will be surprised by how much time is spent on all of the other parts of the pattern. So, I really think it's going to be an interesting experiment. Check out the hashtag if you are interested in seeing what goes into your knitting patterns. All right, let's talk about spending money. Let's talk about some things you definitely want to spend some money on. If you haven't seen this segment before, I like to do one knitting focused thing and one thing that is not related to knitting. So I'm going to start with the non-knitting one. I have recently been trying to grow out my fingernails. I don't know, for a long time it never would have occurred to me to notice trends in fingernails. I guess, I'm busy chasing around 2 little boys and fingernails are not compatible with that. But now my kids are a little bit older. I have noticed that the trend is sort of toward longer fingernails. Having my nails done at a salon, acrylics or whatever, is not something I have the time or the money to keep up with. I've always wanted long nails, but I've always just had like really weak nails that tend to peel at the tips and stay short. So I've been trying to grow them out so that, maybe I can't go to the salon, but I can at least paint them myself. So you can see I'm having some success. See maybe a little bit better this way, that my fingernails actually do reach over the tips of my fingers, which is, or at least these 3 do, which is pretty long for me. Some of the other ones, not so great. I broke this one all the way down here. And that looks awful. And so this hand, these 2 had broken. These are doing okay. So for this project, I have 2 products that I have been using that you will definitely want to check out if you are also interested in either growing your fingernails out if they're weak, or just taking care of your fingernails a little bit better, or both. This one, I don't know how I stumbled across it. It is a nail hardener. Probably like, one of those BuzzFeed articles that's like 35 must have, whatever. That's probably how I found it. So this is a nail hardener. I don't know what is in here. I probably don't want to know. It has a whole bunch of chemical sounding stuff. Formaldehyde. This is from Colombia. So this is what I've been using it to strengthen my nails. So as you can see, now they're not bending. They're nice and strong, which is obviously going to be a big key in getting them to grow out. This has worked really well. It did cause a little bit of skin irritation at the beginning, so there was some redness. So my suggestion to you is, especially when you first start using it, try to keep it from touching your skin. So keep it a little bit away from the edges of your nails while they're growing out. And that did go away after a while, maybe a couple of weeks. And it didn't really hurt, but the skin was a little bit red and it dried out. So then I got this, which is, let's see, Solar Oil Nail and Cuticle Care. It smells like, it doesn't say exactly what it is. It smells like almonds, so I suspect there's almond oil in it. So I've just been putting this all over my nails, around nail beds, now that they've grown out, and on the underside of the nails, usually about twice a day, and it smells really good, so there's no problems with that. The other one does kind of stink a little bit. Just massaging it in about twice a day, if I remember. And so that has, you can see, there's not really any dry skin or anything anymore around my nails. It especially helped with this one when it broke way down here, because I was getting really irritated with just the edge of the nail. But you can see it's nice and soft. It smells good. So definitely, I think my nails are looking the best that they have probably ever looked, other than when I was in high school and would go to prom and have acrylics put on. I think the last time I did that was for my wedding, my second wedding. So it's been a long time. They're really working great. It's helping me grow my nails out. They were, totally reasonably priced. I will put links to them in the show notes so that you can grab them for yourself. So this one is called Esmalte Endurecedor para Uñas, so nail strengthener. And this one is CND Solar Oil Nail and Cuticle Care. Two great nail products. It looks like a thunderstorm might be coming, so the colors are kind of changing. All right, and now for the knitting thing you should definitely buy. Brioche is so popular right now. Everybody is doing it. Some people, I think, are kind of scared off by it. It's really not hard. It's fiddly, especially if you're working brioche flat, because you need to work each row twice with one color or the other before turning your work, and then you need to work the next row twice before turning. So it can get a little fiddly. There's a lot of yarn overs, and but it is so popular right now. You're seeing it in a lot of stuff. It makes a really squishy, warm fabric. It lets you show off two colors of yarn, and it is especially good if you want to pair like a solid color with one of those crazy variegated yarns you get. It's a great stitch pattern for that. So I had done some just basic brioche in the Cuticle Sound shawl pattern. I am currently working on a sort of big sister to the Cuticle Sound shawl, which is called the Albemarle shawl. One of my 3 things that I'm trying to get done by the end of this month. And I wanted to add a little bit of fancier brioche. So I thought it would be helpful to get a book. So this book has actual patterns, this, but it also has a whole bunch of stitch patterns. like these, so that I can use stitch patterns like these, incorporate them into my designs. But for somebody who is maybe new to brioche, what you'll be most interested in is the whole first section, which is explaining how to knit brioche. So we've got general knitting tips, all the terminology and abbreviations that you need, special cast-ons for brioche. Everything is in here that you are going to need to learn how to do brioche. So then, she gets into creating the basic fabric, special bind-offs, how to work increases and decreases. If you are interested in learning brioche, she even tells you how to weave in the ends. This is really going to be an important resource for you. There's also about reading brioche charts. Brioche charts are crazy looking. Let me show you one. Okay, here we go. I mean, there's all kinds of new symbols and stuff there that, I've probably never seen before. But if you are at all interested in learning brioche, I think this is a really, really valuable resource for you. This is Knitting Fresh Brioche by Nancy, I don't know if it's Marchant or Marchant. But she is like the queen of brioche. And this is a really thorough book. Like I said, it does have patterns. I wasn't too interested in the specific patterns. There were a couple that I was interested in, but for the most part, I liked this one. This one is called Stegosaurus, and I like that. But I have so little time to knit anything on my own that I wasn't specifically looking for patterns. I was mostly interested in the stitch dictionary element, but then I was also really impressed just by all of this technique information at the beginning. It goes on for, let's see, 49 pages. Page 49 is when all the technique stuff ends. So that's really a lot of important content explaining how this technique works. Definitely, I would pick this up if you are interested in learning brioche. Okay, our time together is almost at an end, but I want to announce the winner of the giveaway from episode 3. The winner of this, oh Lord, the color here. All right, lovely skein of Woolberry Fiber Company sock yarn and a copy, there's a bee right outside my window. A copy of the X9 sock pattern from yours truly is Linda E. So Linda, if you are watching this, you are the winner of this wonderful prize. I have no way to contact you via YouTube. So get in touch with me. You can send me an email, mediaperuana@gmail.com. I will include that in the show notes. It'd be a little tricky to spell. You are the winner. Thank you so much to everybody who entered. We will have another giveaway probably in May, I think, after I have launched those 3 new patterns. Maybe I'll have time to put a little more thought into that. So I just want to wrap things up here. Thank you so much for joining me here. You are watching this perhaps on YouTube. You can also find the Hilo Stitch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcatcher. You can also find it on my website at mediaperuana.com/Hilo and Stitch. If you are looking for me and my patterns, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Ravelry as Media Peruana. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you again to my Patreon patrons for supporting the podcast. If you would like to support the podcast and get access to bonus episodes every month, you can find all of that information on my Patreon site, patreon.com/mediaperuana, and I will link to all of that in the show notes, which you can find at matthewperuana.com/Hilo and Stitch. And I will see you guys next time.